"You're wild," they said, until the cowboy replied, "Good, you'll match me just fine." The sun was low over the horizon of Iridia, 9 casting long, orange shadows across the dusty spaceport. The air was dry, filled with the hum of hovering cargo ships and the chatter of traders moving between neon-lit stalls. Few places on the fringe worlds had a calm rhythm. Iridia, 9 was not one of them, but to Jace Callahan, it was perfect. Jace leaned back on his hoverhorse, Strider, letting the soft whir of its engine carry him forward. The horse was a strange mix of old Earth design and modern tech, with gleaming metal hooves and a leather-like body that flexed like a real animal. Jace had built it himself out of spare parts from the scrapyards of other planets. Strider wasn't fast compared to some of the newer models, but it had character. As he rode into the main docking area, people started noticing. He had that look, the kind of man who lived on the edge, who spoke first and thought later, the locals whispered to one another. "He's wild," one said. "Not for long," another muttered. Jace smiled under his wide-brimmed hat. He didn't mind what people thought. Being wild had kept him alive this long, and he wasn't planning to change. He stopped near a row of hovering cargo carts that shuttled supplies from the docking bays to the main station. Most people avoided them. Jace, however, leaned forward and tapped one lightly, watching it wobble. He grinned. "Now this is interesting," he muttered. A voice spoke from behind him, calm but sharp. "You're reckless," it said. Jace turned and saw a young woman standing near the edge of the port. Her dark hair was tied back, and her goggles reflected the orange sky. She wore a uniform that marked her as part of the colony's engineering team. She looked at him with raised eyebrows, as if daring him to make a mistake. "And you're careful?" Jace said, grinning. "But careful doesn't make life fun." The woman folded her arms. "You're wild," she said simply. Jace's grin widened. "Good, you'll match me just fine." The woman blinked. She didn't expect him to reply like that. Most people either ignored him or told him to leave. But he didn't stop there. He leaned over the cart, tapping a few buttons, and it immediately shivered and spun lightly out of control. "Oh no," the woman said. Jace laughed and caught the cart with a quick pull of a lever, steadying it perfectly. "See? Fun." "You call that fun?" she asked, trying not to sound impressed. "I call it life," he said. "Careful is boring, wild, that's exciting." Her name was Nova Rin. She worked on the colony ships that supplied the station with tools, food, and new technology. She liked order, precision, and a life without surprises. Jace, well, he was the opposite of everything she liked. And yet, she felt curious. A loud alarm suddenly echoed across the port. Holographic screens flickered, showing a blip on the edge of the asteroid belt. A voice boomed. "Attention, all vessels. An unusual anomaly has been detected near Sector 7. Unstable energy readings. Extreme caution advised." The traders and engineers murmured nervously. Few people dared to approach anomalies. Jace's eyes lit up. "Looks like adventure," he said. Nova frowned. "That's dangerous." "Dangerous is my business," Jace replied lightly. "Yours?" Nova hesitated. She had studied anomalies like this in simulations, but she had never approached one in real life. Still, something about him made her want to follow. Against her better judgment, she said, "Fine. But we do it my way." Jace tipped his hat. "Perfect. We'll call it a partnership." They moved towards Strider, which whirred and adjusted to their weight. Jace jumped on easily, one hand on the reins. Nova climbed onto a small seat attached behind him, clutching her toolkit. She had packed her portable scanner and a small manipulator arm, ready for anything. As they lifted off the ground, Jace guided Strider toward the edge of the spaceport, where the cargo ships were slower and the path to the asteroid belt clearer. The wind rushed past, carrying the smell of ionized metal and dust. "You know," Nova said, keeping her eyes on the controls she had adjusted, "you're not like anyone I've met." "That's the point," Jace said with a grin. The asteroid belt lay ahead like a river of floating rocks and glowing energy fields. Some of the debris shimmered, evidence of ships long lost or experimental tech left behind. The anomaly they were headed toward pulsed faintly, a strange light unlike any natural star. "This is insane," Nova muttered, her fingers hovering over her tools. "Insane is what makes it fun," Jace said, steering them toward the first cluster of rocks. They navigated the obstacles together. Jace had an instinct for movement, and Nova had an eye for details. When a spinning cargo satellite came toward them, Jace leaned Strider to the left while Nova adjusted the stabilizers. The two worked seamlessly, a combination of recklessness and precision. For a moment, Nova couldn't help but smile. Maybe being wild wasn't as bad as she thought. They reached the edge of the anomaly, a glowing orb of light suspended between two asteroids. It pulsed softly, almost like it was breathing. Nova's scanner picked up unusual energy patterns, fluctuating unpredictably. "It's alive," she whispered. "Maybe it's lonely," Jace said with a wink. "Want me to say hello?" Nova rolled her eyes but couldn't hide her grin. "Careful, Cowboy." "We don't know what it will do." Jace extended his hand toward the orb, and it pulsed brighter. Strider shifted nervously, but Nova noticed that the orb's light seemed to react to Jace's boldness. When he stepped closer confidently, it glimmered more steadily. When Nova moved cautiously, it flickered like it was unsure. "This is strange," she said. "It's responding to us, to our energy, our personalities." "Looks like it likes wild," Jace said, smiling at her. Nova frowned thoughtfully. "Or maybe it likes balance. The wild and the careful together." Jace nodded slowly, thinking, "Maybe. It seems like you and I are just the right combination." The orb suddenly shifted, spinning gently and projecting a small holographic map. Stars, planets, and paths lit up in ways neither of them had seen before. It pointed toward an uncharted planet far beyond their current system.
Nova gasped. "That's
incredible. This could lead to new discoveries, technology, knowledge, maybe even life forms we've never imagined." "And we get to go first," Jace said, leaning back with a satisfied grin. "Partners in discovery. Sounds good to me." Nova glanced at him. There was a spark of excitement she hadn't felt in years. Against her usual cautious instincts, she felt ready. "All right, Cowboy," she said. "Let's see where this leads." Jace tipped his hat again, his grin wide and unshakable. "Good. You'll match me just fine." As Strider lifted higher, leaving the glowing port lights behind, the two of them prepared for a journey into the unknown. The stars stretched endlessly before them, full of mysteries, challenges, and adventures. And for the first time, both felt that wildness could be a kind of magic, especially when shared with the right person. The wind rushed past, the orb pulsed softly, and the story of the cowboy and the careful engineer began its first chapter. The stars stretched endlessly around them as Strider glided through the blackness of space. Jace leaned forward, guiding the hover horse with ease, while Nova scanned the holographic map projected by the mysterious orb. The uncharted planet lay far ahead, beyond the asteroid belt, and every mile brought both excitement and uncertainty. Nova's eyes flicked between the controls and the data streams. "The energy readings are unusual," she said. "I've never seen anything like it. It's fluctuating, almost like it's thinking, huh?" Jace said, tilting his head. "Maybe it just likes us. Or maybe it wants to see if we're bold enough to follow." Nova couldn't help but smile. "Bold enough, huh? That seems to be your specialty." "Only my specialty," Jace replied, grinning. "Yours is clever enough to keep me alive." She rolled her eyes, but there was warmth in her tone. "Let's just hope clever keeps us out of trouble." The asteroid belt ahead was a swirling dance of rocks and debris, remnants of lost ships and natural formations shaped by cosmic forces. Strider hummed as it navigated through the dense clusters, its sensors alert to the smallest movements. "Watch that one!" Nova shouted, pointing at a rotating rock the size of a small building. Jace twisted Strider just in time, sliding past with inches to spare. The glow of the anomaly pulsed behind them, lighting up the rocks with a soft, almost playful shine. "Not bad for a careful one," Jace teased. "I'm not here to impress you," Nova shot back, tightening her grip on her scanner. "Good. I'd hate to see you try." The two moved like a team, Jace's daring maneuvers complemented by Nova's precise adjustments. Every twist, every sharp turn made the orb pulse brighter, as if acknowledging their skill. They passed abandoned cargo satellites that floated silently, their panels cracked and spinning. One of them carried old supplies labeled from a planet long forgotten. Nova carefully reached out with her manipulator arm to stabilize it, examining its contents. "Strange," she muttered. "These materials, they aren't from any known colony. Someone, or something, put them here deliberately." Jace peered over her shoulder. "You think someone left a treasure map in space?" "Not treasure," she said, "but maybe clues. Patterns. Technology we don't understand yet." Jace laughed softly. "Then we better follow it. I like clues." As they moved deeper into the belt, the obstacles grew larger. Massive asteroids blocked their path. Glowing energy fields wavered unpredictably, and rogue drones from old mining operations zipped past. Nova guided them expertly, issuing quick adjustments. Jace moved Strider with instinct, feeling the flow of space and the push of gravity fields like a dancer in a cosmic ballroom. "This is amazing," Nova said quietly. "I've studied simulations, charts, theories, but nothing compares to this. It's alive. Somehow, it reacts to us." "See?" Jace said, his voice softer now. "I told you it's all about energy. You go bold, it goes bright. You go careful, it goes steady. We need both." Nova glanced at him. Maybe that's the point. Balance. Wild and careful together. Jace grinned. "Sounds familiar." The orb began pulsing faster, and a soft hum filled the cabin of Strider. Nova frowned at her instruments. "It's signaling us more than just a map. Something wants to communicate. I'm picking up patterns, sequences, almost like a language." "Then let's talk," Jace said. He reached out a hand toward the orb, and it pulsed brighter, sending waves of soft light through the cockpit. Nova joined him, placing her hand beside his. For a moment, the world outside seemed to vanish. The stars, the rocks, the cold vacuum of space, all replaced by a gentle, glowing rhythm. They felt a connection with the orb, a sense that it understood them in some way. Nova laughed softly. "I think it likes us. Or it's just smart enough to know we're the right team for this," Jace said. As they passed a particularly massive cluster of asteroids, a small ship drifted into view. It looked ancient, its panels scratched and its engines silent. Jace steered Strider closer, curiosity lighting his features. "Another relic?" he asked. Nova's eyes widened. "Not just any relic. Look at the markings." She zoomed in with her scanner, revealing symbols etched into the hull. They weren't from any known civilization. The symbols glowed faintly when Strider passed close, as if recognizing their presence. "Someone went to a lot of trouble to hide this," Nova said. "Or to show it to us," Jace replied, tilting Strider. "Either way, we're getting close." Nova carefully maneuvered Strider alongside the ship. She extended her manipulator arm and scanned the hull. Energy pulses echoed through the metal, resonating with the orb's light. "It's connected," she said. "The ship, the orb, they're part of something bigger. Something waiting for us." Jace chuckled. "Sounds like my kind of adventure." The orb pulsed faster, projecting a new holographic image. A path appeared through the asteroid belt, highlighting a safe route through the most dangerous zones. Nova studied it. "It's showing us where to go. Step by step, I can follow this." "Step by step, huh? I like the sound of that," Jace said. They followed the glowing path, weaving through the belt with growing confidence. The obstacles seemed less threatening now, more like challenges designed to test their teamwork. Nova's careful adjustments balanced Jace's bold moves, and the orb's light responded to their harmony. "Look at that," Nova said, pointing ahead. A massive asteroid loomed, glowing with a soft blue light. It was unlike anything they had seen before. "It's beautiful." Jace slowed Strider as they approached. "Beautiful, yeah, but it's also inviting. Feels like it wants us to land." Nova hesitated. "Are we sure it's safe?" Jace shrugged. "Safe isn't my style, but it feels right." "Don't you trust me?" Nova's lips curved into a small smile. "Just a little." They landed gently on the glowing surface. The asteroid hummed beneath them, resonating with energy. Nova carefully stepped out, her boots hovering slightly above the rock. Jace followed, Strider adjusting its stance on the uneven terrain. The orb floated beside them, pulsating with soft light. Nova ran her hand across its surface, feeling warmth and energy. "It's alive. I can feel it." Jace nodded. "I told you. Wild and careful, working together. That's the secret." Nova laughed softly. "Maybe you're right. We do make a good team." Suddenly, the orb projected a small doorway of light onto the asteroid's surface, a shimmering portal leading to somewhere unknown. Nova stared at it, fascinated. "It's a portal," she whispered. "It's showing us the next step." Jace's grin returned, wider than ever. "And we're stepping through together. Ready, partner?" Nova took a deep breath. "Let's see where this wild ride takes us." Hand in hand, they walked toward the glowing portal. The stars outside seemed to twist and shine brighter, as if cheering them on. The asteroid hummed beneath their feet, and the orb pulsed with satisfaction. As they stepped through the light, the world shifted around them. Space, stars, and rocks melted into a swirl of colors and energy, carrying them forward. Both felt a thrill unlike anything they had experienced, a mix of fear, excitement, and wonder. "Here we go," Jace said, his voice full of anticipation. Nova squeezed his hand. Together. The portal carried them farther than either could see, into a place unknown, full of possibilities. Their journey had only begun, and the stars themselves seemed to whisper, inviting them onward. Strider hummed beneath them, steady and reliable, while the orb guided their way. And for the first time, both Jace and Nova felt a sense of true adventure, a wild ride that neither of them would ever forget. They didn't know what awaited on the other side, but one thing was certain. Together, they could face anything. And as the light of the portal surrounded them, Jace whispered, almost to himself, "Good. You really do match me just fine." Nova smiled. "Let's hope the universe agrees." When Jace and Nova stepped through the portal, the world around them shifted in ways they could hardly imagine. Space and stars melted into swirls of color, streaking past as if the universe itself was moving. Their hearts raced, not from fear, but from awe. Then, slowly, the colors settled, and they found themselves hovering above a planet unlike any they had ever seen. Its surface shimmered with crystal forests, rivers of soft glowing light, and mountains that seemed to float in the air. Strange, delicate creatures with translucent wings flitted through the sky, leaving trails of sparkling energy behind them. Nova gasped. "It's beautiful." "Yeah," Jace said, letting Strider touch down gently on a floating rock. "It's wild, just like us." Strider adjusted its legs on the uneven surface, its sensors mapping the terrain. Jace jumped down, boots clicking against the glowing rock. Nova followed, carefully taking measurements with her scanner. "This planet, it feels alive," Nova said, her eyes wide. "Not just plants and creatures alive, the whole world is reacting to us." Jace smiled. "Well, I like that. A world that responds to the wild and careful together. Sounds like home already." As they walked, the ground beneath them pulsed softly with light, shifting in patterns that seemed almost like a language. Nova crouched to examine it. "These patterns, they're not random. They're instructions. Or maybe a map." "Instructions? For what?" Jace asked. Nova tapped her scanner, which hummed softly. "For exploring, I think. This planet, it's teaching us." Jace raised an eyebrow. "Teaching us?" "Well, partner, I didn't bring a book. I brought adventure." Nova laughed softly. "Maybe the planet is the book." They followed the glowing patterns, stepping carefully across rocks that floated in midair and rivers of light that flowed upward instead of down. Every step they took made the patterns shift, guiding them further into the crystal forests. "Look at this," Nova said, pointing to a grove of crystals. The crystals reflected their own images, but the reflections moved differently, sometimes exaggerating their gestures, sometimes mimicking emotions they hadn't shown. Jace laughed. "It's like the planet is teasing us." Nova shook her head in amazement. "Or testing us. Maybe it wants to see how we work together?" They soon came to a clearing where the glowing rivers converged. In the center stood a large stone pedestal, smooth and warm to the touch, covered in alien inscriptions. The orb floated above it, pulsing brighter than ever. "This has to be the heart of the planet," Nova said. She carefully touched the inscriptions, and they shimmered, projecting holographic symbols into the air. Patterns of light formed pathways, shapes, and sequences that seemed like a puzzle waiting to be solved. "Looks complicated," Jace said, scratching his head. "But hey, when have I ever backed down from a puzzle?" Nova chuckled. "Complicated is an understatement. This is more like living instructions. We'll need to combine our skills." Jace nodded. "Bold moves and careful thinking. Got it." The first part of the puzzle required them to step across floating platforms of light that appeared above the rivers. Nova studied the sequence carefully, noticing which platforms glowed steady and which pulsed faintly. "Steady ones first," she said. "The pulsing ones are reactive. They'll only stay solid if we move confidently." Jace grinned. "Perfect. Leave the pulsing ones to me." He stepped onto a glowing platform, and it held firm under his weight. Nova followed, cautiously testing each step but trusting Jace's instincts for the pulsing platforms. Together they crossed the river, their teamwork making the path stable. "See?" Jace said, turning to Nova. "Wild and careful, perfect match." Nova smiled. "I suppose you were right." After crossing the river, they reached the next challenge, a grove of floating crystal spheres, each emitting a soft hum. Nova's scanner showed that each sphere reacted differently to movement, sound, and energy. "Some of these will respond to our presence," she explained. "We need to synchronize our steps." Jace twirled his hat, then stepped confidently into the grove. Nova followed, carefully moving in sync with him. Every time they matched their steps, the spheres glowed brighter, forming a path deeper into the forest. "It's teaching us about balance," Nova said. "Boldness and caution together create harmony." "Sounds like life," Jace said, smiling. Deeper into the forest, the atmosphere changed. The air shimmered with colors that shifted according to emotion. Nova laughed softly when a branch of crystals bent to mimic her movement. Jace raised an eyebrow when a nearby crystal pulsed bright as he made a daring jump across a gap. "See that?" he said. "Even the trees are cheering me on." Nova laughed. "Or maybe they're cheering for both of us. I think we're meant to work together, not alone." As they advanced, they came to a large pool of liquid light. The pool reflected not just their physical forms, but their thoughts and feelings. When they hesitated, the surface rippled unevenly. When they moved forward together, confidently, it calmed and glowed steadily. "This is incredible," Nova whispered. "The planet responds to us emotionally as well." Jace extended his hand. "Then let's show it, what teamwork looks like." They carefully stepped onto floating stones in the pool, holding hands to maintain balance. The pool glowed brighter with each step, forming a path to the far side. When they reached the edge, the orb hovered above a large crystal, pulsing faster. "This is it," Nova said. "The final message. Or maybe the reward." She touched the crystal, and it projected a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, showing routes, planets, and constellations unknown to any explorer. Nova gasped. "This planet, it's giving us knowledge. It wants us to carry it forward." Jace studied the map. "Adventure, discovery, and we get to be the first to explore it." "Just like I hoped." Nova smiled. "And we're doing it together, wild and careful, exactly as the planet intended." The orb pulsed once more, then hovered over the map. A beam of light projected from it, forming a small doorway, a portal leading onward. Nova looked at Jace. "Ready?" she asked. Jace tipped his hat, grin wide. "Always. Let's see where the wild and careful take us next." As they stepped into the portal, the crystal forests, glowing rivers, and floating islands faded behind them. They felt a gentle pull, as if the planet itself was bidding them farewell. "This is just the beginning," Nova whispered. Jace nodded. "And I can't wait to see what comes next." The portal carried them higher, out of the planet's atmosphere and into the swirling lights of space once more. Below, Vera Prime shimmered like a jewel, its secrets shared with those who had earned its trust. "You know, I didn't think I'd ever feel this way, excited, challenged, and connected to someone else. And yet here we are, I told you, wild and careful together. There's nothing better." The stars stretched endlessly before them again, but this time they felt different. They were not just travelers. They were explorers with purpose. Every path, every anomaly, every challenge was now part of their journey, and they would face it together. Strider hummed beneath them, steady and reliable, while the orb floated at their side, pulsing with anticipation. Nova looked at the orb and whispered, "Thank you for guiding us." Jace laughed softly. "I think the universe is just making sure the right people get to see the right places." The portal ahead shimmered, promising more wonders beyond. Jace tipped his hat toward Nova. "Partner?" "Partner," she replied, smiling. With hearts full of curiosity and minds ready for discovery, they entered the next stage of their adventure, leaving Vera Prime behind but carrying its lessons forward. Boldness and caution, wildness and care, they were ready for whatever the universe had in store. And as the stars stretched before them, pulsing with possibility, Jace whispered, almost to himself, "Good, you really do match me just fine." Nova smiled softly. "Let's hope the universe agrees." The portal shimmered and pulsed with colors that no human eye had ever seen. Jace and Nova stepped through together, their hands brushing in silent agreement. Beyond the doorway, the universe itself seemed alive. Islands floated in the void, connected by streams of glowing light. Stars blinked like lanterns in a festival, and gravity twisted in playful patterns, making them feel light as feathers and heavy as mountains all at once. Jace adjusted Strider's stabilizers. "Well, partner," he said, grinning under his hat, "this is definitely wilder than anything back at Iridia 9. Nova laughed softly, scanning the floating landscape. "It's beautiful and strange. Almost like it's a test. Test, adventure playground. Same difference," Jace said. "All I know is, it's ours to explore." Floating stones of light shifted in unpredictable patterns across a glowing river that connected two of the islands. Nova's scanner beeped rapidly, showing that some stones reacted to movement, while others reacted to presence or intention. "I think we need to synchronize," she said. "We move together, confident but careful. If we split up, we'll fail." Jace tipped his hat, like always, wild and careful. They stepped together. Nova counted softly. 1, 2, 3. On each step, the stones glowed brighter, solidifying beneath their feet. When they hesitated or tried to second-guess, the stones wavered and flickered. Jace chuckled. "See? Confidence is key. Focus," Nova reminded him. And balance. Together they crossed the river, the path lighting steadily behind them, leaving a glowing trail. The orb floated above, pulsing faster, as if applauding their teamwork. Once on the next island, the landscape changed. Giant crystal structures hovered, slowly rotating in midair, casting prismatic light everywhere. Bridges of thin, glowing energy stretched between them. Each bridge reacted to touch, bending and twisting. Some looked solid but would ripple if stepped on without care. "This is incredible," Nova whispered. "The environment changes based on how we move. It's like the universe is alive." "Feels like it's watching us," Jace said, adjusting Strider's legs for stability. "And it likes what it sees." Nova nodded. "We have to keep moving in sync, both bold and careful. We can't let it outpace us." They navigated the bridges, stepping in rhythm. Nova's careful eye and Jace's bold intuition created a harmony. The energy bridges shifted to accommodate them, making the path easier as they advanced. Every step rewarded their teamwork, teaching them that confidence without thought or caution without courage was not enough. After the bridges, a new challenge awaited, a series of floating spheres filled with liquid light. Each sphere emitted a soft musical tone, creating a melody when touched. Nova quickly understood that stepping on them in the wrong order caused the spheres to dim, while the correct sequence lit them all and formed a glowing path forward. "I think it's a puzzle," she said, analyzing the patterns. "We have to step in the right order, together." "Good thing I'm quick on my feet," Jace said with a grin. They moved carefully but confidently, stepping in sync. Each tone harmonized with the last, creating a melody that echoed through the void. The orb pulsed with approval, and the spheres aligned to form a path. When they reached the final sphere, the music crescendoed and faded into a calm, glowing light. "Beautiful," Nova whispered. "And a little magical. See?" Jace said. "Wild and careful. Perfect match." Ahead, the path led to a floating plateau surrounded by drifting light islands. In the center stood a massive crystal tower, glowing with soft, shifting colors. The orb hovered above it, pulsing in rhythm with the tower. Nova scanned it. "The tower. It's like the planet Veyrai Prime. It responds to us, our energy, our connection, our balance," she said. Jace nodded. "Then let's show it what we've got." They approached the tower together. As they stepped onto its base, light streams wrapped around them, guiding their hands to touch specific crystal panels. Each panel reacted differently. Some required boldness, pressing with firm confidence. Others required precision, a delicate touch. Nova's careful hand pressed the panels exactly as needed, while Jace applied bold, sweeping gestures. The tower pulsed brighter with every coordinated move, projecting a holographic map of stars, pathways, and glowing routes. "This is incredible," Nova breathed. "The tower is teaching us." "Rewarding our teamwork, and we're getting smarter for it," Jace added. "Every step, every move, we're learning together." As they completed the final panel, the tower opened a doorway of pure light. The orb hovered at the entrance, pulsing faster than ever. Nova looked at Jace. "Ready?" she asked. Jace tipped his hat. "Always, partner." They stepped through the doorway, and instantly the scenery changed again. They were in a place that seemed to stretch forever, floating islands of crystal, rivers of light, and stars that shimmered in impossible patterns. Gravity shifted playfully, but Strider adjusted automatically. "This is beyond anything I imagined," Nova said, eyes wide. "It's like the universe itself is alive, and it knows we're here." Jace smiled, "And it seems to like us." The orb pulsed one final time, then projected a small message in light. "Wildness and care and harmony opens new worlds." Nova looked at Jace, understanding finally dawning. The universe, it's testing us, not with danger or violence, but with challenges that require balance. Boldness and caution, wildness and care, together, Jace tipped his hat. Exactly. And we passed the test. Suddenly, a series of floating islands shifted closer, forming a connected path. On each island, strange creatures of light and crystal observed them, not threatening, only curious. The path led to a massive glowing ship floating in the void, unlike any vessel they had seen before, Nova's scanner hummed. This is a ship, but not like any ship in the galaxy. It's alive, too, responsive, adaptive, and it's waiting for us. Then it's our next ride, Jay said with a grin. They stepped aboard the ship together. Its surface was smooth, reflecting their images, and its interior glowed with a soft, inviting light. Controls seemed to respond not to force, but to intention. Nova placed her hands lightly on a console, and the ship pulsed, lifting into the swirling cosmic horizon. Look at that, Jace said. The universe just gave us a ship that listens, Nova smiled, and it will only respond if we work together. Bold moves, careful thinking, exactly what we've learned. They flew into the open void, navigating between floating islands, rivers of light, and glowing stars. The universe seemed to bend and shift with their actions. Each choice, each movement, was a dance between their instincts, Jace's boldness and Nova's care. After some time, they paused above a glowing planet, its surface shimmering with possibilities. Nova looked at Jace, a soft smile on her face. We made it, together. Jace tipped his hat, grinning.
We did. Wild and careful.
Perfect match. The orb floated beside them one last time, pulsing gently, as if satisfied. Nova reached out and touched it. It shimmered and then slowly faded, leaving behind a soft glow that would guide them on future journeys. Looks like we've been certified, Jace said, chuckling. Nova laughed. Certified explorers and partners. Jace turned toward her. Partner? Partner, Nova replied. Together they looked out at the endless stars, floating islands and glowing rivers of the universe. They knew that adventures awaited beyond every horizon, that mysteries and wonders stretched infinitely before them. But now they also knew something more important. They could face it all together, boldly, carefully, and in perfect harmony. Strider hummed beneath them, steady and strong, ready to follow wherever they would go. And as the cosmic horizon stretched endlessly before them, Jace whispered, almost to himself, Good. You really do match me just fine. Nova smiled, her hand brushing his. And I think the universe already knew it. The stars twinkled like a promise. They were ready. For wildness and care together, for adventures without end, and for a partnership that no challenge could break. And with that, they soared forward into a universe full of possibilities, mysteries, and stories yet to be written.